Support WrestleTalk!
Support each other. Monday's episode of Raw was actually taped last Tuesday as part of WWE's fortnightly batch tapings during the pandemic. What even is time anymore? And as soon as it was over, reports started coming out about a scary botch where Kairi Sane busted open her head on the steel steps in a match with Nia Jax. The taping was temporarily halted while medical personnel attended to Sane, but she insisted on finishing. This was first reported by Fightful and then backed up by the Wrestling Observer, where Dave Meltzer said his sources told him this was not Nia Jax's fault, even though other things have been. Apparently, Kairi was in control of her bump and she made it look too good, actually hitting her head on the steel steps and was knocked silly. She worked herself into a shoot, brother. But to make it even more confusing, it now seems we might all have been shoot-worked into a work-shoot-work. Brother? We all got to see the spot ourselves on this Monday's episode, and it appeared as though Jax really did throw Kairi's head into the steel steps. That's what wrestling's meant to look like, right? That people are actually hurting each other? To me, there was reasonable doubt, especially given the Meltzer report that Nia wasn't wholly to blame. But a new report from Meltzer's Wrestling Observer radio co-host Brian Alvarez heavily contradicts this, as he read out a text message from someone who was at the Raw taping who said it was 1000% Nia's fault. She needs to be fired. She is dangerous. Fire her before she cripples or kills somebody. Both Meltzer and Alvarez then agreed Jax appeared to throw Kairi way too hard, considering how close they already were to the steps. And as visceral proof of the injury, Sane tweeted out pictures of the scar on her head from the spot following the episode. If Jax really is at fault again, this makes it just the latest wrestler she's injured, infamously breaking Becky Lynch's face ahead of Survivor Series 2018, and also hurting Ember Moon, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, and others over the last few years, as well as Kairi again just last month with a reckless buckle bomb. NXT is no longer just developmental. It's the third brand, alongside Raw and SmackDown, emerging victorious at last November's Survivor Series, and its women's champion currently being the Omni-Flare. But as Tommaso Ciampa has already publicly criticised, using its roster as a generic 2K20 crowd for the WWE tapings rather undermines that. WWE only started using wrestlers in the crowd from last Monday's Raw, which has definitely improved the viewing experience of the shows, adding some much needed fan-like atmosphere. But it's also created lots of grumpy, tired NXT wrestlers, as well as being made to stand for most of the daily 12-hour taping marathons and rain delaying Thursday's takeover recording by 5 hours. Wrestling Inc. is reporting that NXT wrestlers became somewhat sluggish in the crowd before Tuesday's taping of Raw, after already sitting through 205 Live and Main Event that morning. Even WWE's own wrestlers can't get into 205 Live and Main Event. This prompted WWE management to tell the crowd to be more enthusiastic over the house PA system, which one source described as a parent talking down to a child. Additionally, the NXT crowd members were kept separate from the main roster wrestlers, having to bring their own packed lunches to eat intense outside rather than have access to catering. While it's perfectly reasonable to quarantine groups from each other right now, making one section feel that undervalued will only cause resentment and frustration in the long term. NXT wrestlers put up with all that, of course, for the prospect of one day being called up to the main roster, to then be fed to Bobby Lashley. Eat it up, Bobby. Eat it up. Last week, we exclusively reported that NXT's Dominik Dijakovic would be called up following Matt Riddle imminently, which Meltzer has since corroborated, adding it'll be for the Raw brand. And now WrestleTalk.com's Louis Dangoor can exclusively reveal, because we do exclusives now, don't you know, that another NXT name is being discussed backstage for a full main roster call-up: Chelsea green. This explains the rather rushed breakup angle with her manager Robert Stone on last week's NXT, following her tag match win with Charlotte Flair, which was part of putting her over ahead of a main roster debut. Our sources tell us that if Green is called up, as the plans are not yet confirmed, it would be without Stone. Green had actually already briefly debuted on the main roster on the December 23rd episode of Raw, losing to the Omni Flare, and competed in the Women's Royal Rumble match, which was also eventually won by the Omni Flare. Once on the main roster, she's fully expected to mostly lose to the Omni Flare. Green first made her name as Laurel Van Ness in Impact Wrestling, where her former NXT live event tag partner Deonna Purrazzo, who was released by WWE in April, has since debuted. And now Green's fiance Matt Cardona, the former Zack Ryder in WWE, is also rumoured to be going there, along with a bunch of other recently released stars. It's the circle of life. While Purrazzo debuted for Impact several weeks ago, as soon as her 30-day non-compete clause expired, the promotion ran a video package on last night's episode teasing practically every other person released from WWE joining her. Twitter user @WrestlingCovers took screenshots of all the flash frame teases revealing Impact footage of Eric Young, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Drake Maverick. Not Drake Maverickception. Kurt Hawkins, Micah Maria Kanellis, EC3, and a picture of the Bulgarian flag, presumably hinting towards a Rusev debut, as Impact don't have any existing footage of him to use. The trailer was to hype Impact's next big pay-per-view Slammiversary on July 18th, which is just several days after all of those teased have their 90-day non-compete clauses from WWE expire. Who do you think will turn up in the Impact Zone with their first and last name switched around next month? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'll be replying from out of nowhere, hoping, after his recent interview, it's Kurt Angle. Thanks for your support on Patreon. Wonderwall. Brian Gallagher. Kurt Angle was released by WWE back in April, so naturally he's shown up on both NXT and SmackDown in the last week to referee a Matt Riddle match and introduce the original Bro to the main roster, respectively. While Dave Meltzer said he's heard nothing about WWE bringing Angle back to the company, as his appearances are likely just because WWE are still paying him until the end of his 90-day non-compete, WrestlingNews.co has reported he's expected to return to WWE because Vince doesn't want him going to AEW. To clear this up, Sports Illustrated spoke to the man himself, where Angle actually called his release a blessing in disguise, as his nutrition company, Physically Fit Nutrition, started picking up orders and we're at a point where I really need to be here. However, he's not ruling out a return at some point, even one of the in-ring variety. Right now I can't. Could my mind be changed? I've been doing a lot of rehab on my body, trying to get myself back to where I'm able to live a healthy lifestyle. I'd been so banged up, my neck, my back, and my neck, but I'm making improvements. If I get to the point where I feel I can do it, then I'll probably do it. Get Angle to AEW or Impact or WWE or New Japan confirmed. Angle even revealed what WWE would have had planned for him if he did return, saying he was going to manage Matt Riddle to eventually build to a match between them. As we covered yesterday, Jaxson Ryker of the Forgotten Sons posted a tweet in support of Donald Trump following an address from the US president. This drew significant heat from the WWE locker room, with wrestlers like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Mustafa Ali, Ricochet, and Batista publicly calling him out on Twitter. And a Facebook post made by Ryker in July 2019 that's resurfaced has only exasperated the issue. Pretty touchy subject, but all this Black Lives Matter garbage baffles me. I challenge anyone of any colour or race to go watch 12 Years a Slave, the movie, and realise how good you all actually have it. Learn heritage. Christ, Gandhi, Buddha, they all taught love and caring for others. This is getting out of hand. I pray for this nation daily. Ryker has since deleted the post. Even his Forgotten Sons teammates have begun to distance themselves from Ryker, with Steve Cutler posting, "Although I am part of a tag team while I wrestle, I am my own person with my own thoughts and beliefs. It pains me to see what's going on in the world. I fought for the freedom of our country and all of the people who live here." While Wesley Blake tweeted, "I will never understand, however, I stand. Hashtag justice for George Floyd." Now it's time for something completely different and hopefully nicer, your suggestions for what Vince McMahon's biography should be called. Johnny Hammett, Ali Hassan, and probably many others all suggested "It's Such Good S-Word," which Stazza Nuval developed into the longer title, "The Man Who Fired His Biographer one chapter from the end and rewrote the whole thing himself, and now it's good S-Word, a Vince McMahon story." While Captain Yorkie suggested "Autobiography subject to change." Continuing our Support WrestleTalk, Support Each Other campaign to help people with their mental health struggles, make sure you watch QuizzleMania 10 today, where all the money made will be donated to Calm, the campaign against living miserably. Because it won't just be me returning with my chest hair on the line. It's so hairy. And Luke and Sean Ross Sapp continuing their epic rivalry, but also our first ever wrestler guest, your favourite wrestler's favourite wrestler, David Starr. Set your reminder for the stream by pressing the video on the right now, and press the video below that to watch Adam Blompier, Laurie Blake and Chopper Pete give their predictions for NXT TakeOver in your house. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.